So moving on from teachers to learners, we need to bear in mind that our learners will bring different things to the classroom in terms of their experience, in terms of their motivation to actually be there, and in terms of their behaviour once they're actually there. So we're going to draw out a table of those different factors depending upon the student's age. We're going to split up our age groups into firstly what we'll call the young learners section, and secondly the adults. Within the section of young learners, we need to break those down further into some subgroups depending upon their age. So whilst different people may have different classifications for what they consider to be young learners, we'll take it anywhere between the ages of 2 and 18, and we'll split them down into those subsections. 2 to 7 years, and 8 to 13 years, and then finally 14 to 18 years. Within each of those age groups then, what are the different motivations that these students bring to the classroom? What different experiences do they bring to the classroom? And what types of behavioural differences are there? We'll try to give 2 examples for each of these. If we run through the 2 to 7 years for each of those 3 factors, thinking about motivation, well, in terms of motivation, the 2 to 7-year-olds, one of the main motivators for them while at school is to actually please their teachers. The other motivating factor that they bring with them at that particularly young age is the fact that they are keen. What experiences do they bring? Limited in terms of life experiences, and indeed at this very young age they may not even have mastered their own native language. Take that native language, we call that L1, the language that they're learning, L2. What types of behavioural conditions do they bring to the classroom? Well, obviously at that very young age they have a short attention span, but they do have a great sense of fun and they do like to play. Let's run through now for the 8 to 13-year-olds and what type of motivations do they bring to the classroom. At this particular age, friends are becoming more important, and this brings with it some positive and negative factors. Another thing about this particular age group is they can become self-absorbed. It's not unusual to see a 5-year-old playing with a toy for hour after hour on end without thinking about anything else. Moving on to their experiences that they've had, obviously they will have gained some knowledge by the age of 13 of their own native language. In fact, they'll be pretty along the way to everything they're ever going to know about it. Quite possibly they will have some second language knowledge through their teaching. What sort of behaviours do they have? Well, between the ages of 13, in general they tend to be receptive to their teaching. They tend to be a little less worried about making mistakes in their language learning at this age. Moving on to the 14 to 18-year-olds, so the adolescents, their motivating factors tend to move away from themselves and more to their peers. So peer pressure tends to become a bit of an issue, and also we have the fact that they have to be there. Quite often at this age they don't have any choice about actually being there, and that can create its own problems. Here they will have a good knowledge of L1, and most likely they'll already had some learning of some form or other in L2. What about their behaviours? Well, this can be a very difficult time for teenagers. They tend to be self-conscious first of all, and unlike these students at the younger age, they tend to be less likely to take risks in front of their peers for fear of shaming themselves.